Yeah, you read that title right. The answer is not always yes, but why are you saying no? Have you ever felt guilty for saying no to sex? Yeah, if you're saying no, like if you're not feeling guilty, yeah. Did you see that title? We're talking about the answer's not always yes, but my question is always going to go to the heart. Why are you saying no? Have you ever felt guilty for saying no to sex? Because if so, this episode's for you. If you've ever thought, is something wrong with me? Or am I failing as a wife? You are not alone. And also, you're not crazy. We're about to rip off one of the most damaging lies Christian women believe, that you have to say yes to sex every time, or you're not a good wife. Today, we are absolutely going all in, full steam, 2 feet, jumping right in there. Because the truth, the answer isn't always yes. But the reason behind your no, well, that's what matters. That's what truly matters. So the lie is that a godly wife always says yes. This is the lie that so many of us have believed, whether someone said it out loud or not, that your spiritual maturity is tied to how often you are willing to give it up. That if your husband wants it, you owe it. End of discussion, period, exclamation point. There's no room for discussion. And I will say that there might not have ever been a woman who, an older woman, a mentor, whatever, who said those things. Or you might have had premarital counseling like my friend Alicia did. What was that, like episode 6 or something like that, where in her premarital, she was told the answer is always yes. That is not true. We're going to get into a little bit of that. So listen, sex is important. It's beautiful. It's sacred. It's worth prioritizing. Absolutely. 1,000%. If you've listened for any length of time, I hope you know that at my core, that is absolutely what I believe. But it was never, ever, ever meant to be a transaction. God never designed sex to be this duty you clock into like a job. And if that's what it feels like, you are not broken. You've just been fed a twisted version of truth. Is that what it feels like? Nobody wants transactional anything. Does your family want transactional meals? It happens. It's a meal. You got to feed them. But what about those ones where you put your heart and your soul, you take a little extra time? It doesn't even have to be like Martha Stewart level, but when you put your heart and soul into it a little bit, like it just hits different, right? Yeah. So what does the Bible actually say about this? How about we go there for a second? Let's just start there. The most misused passage is in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 3-5. And in fact, a few weeks ago, I asked, hey, what is a scripture that has been misused and abused? And I was like, I will go first. It is this one right here. Here's what's interesting to me. This is in the New Living Translation. And I want to look up really quick, me ever always prepared, and see how it starts out in the ESV, because in the NLT, the New Living Translation, the ESV is the English Standard Version, which is what I personally use, but I also like to have different versions because I like to see, it helps to clarify a verse and whatever, just different ways to see it. So it starts out the same way. It says the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. Did you hear that first part? The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and also the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree. So I want to break this down again for you. Did you hear that there is hey, here's husbands, here's what you need to do. Wives, you actually do the same thing. What? Wives, you give authority of your body over to your husband. Oh, husbands, you give authority of your body over to your wife. This isn't a license for a one-sided demand. It's about mutuality. It's about serving one another in love, not performing out of pressure. Do you get that? How many times has that passage been used and abused and just kind of forgotten the part about how he is to fulfill his wife's sexual needs? And in there, I'm like, well, then his wife has sexual needs, right? Can't we just conclude from that if he's to fulfill them, then she has them? Which again, the church would be, tends to be, and the world tends to be very heavy on the man's sexual needs. We know men have sexual needs, but guess what? So do we. So do women. And our husband is to fulfill them, and the wife, her husband's as well. So this one has been so used and abused. It is about mutuality. When sex becomes an obligation instead of a connection, we have absolutely missed the point. I don't know about you, but anything done out of obligation is just not as much fun. We have plenty of those things. You go to work because you are obligated to. Maybe you love it. That's awesome. We make dinner every night because we're obligated to. Like, we got to feed the family, right? Sometimes I love it, but sometimes absolutely it is done completely out of obligation. And it is very different. Have you ever had obligation sex? Yeah, I have. It's not as much fun. I don't want to do that. So here's where everything shifts. Marriage isn't a contract. It's a covenant. Let me break this down for you a little bit. So a contract is something that you would have signed likely with your employment office, your employer, blah, 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 with your employer. It's I'll do my part if you do yours. If you fail, I'm out. Peace out. Like, I can do this. I can get out of it. I just created a contract not too long ago for, I was helping somebody with something, and we're not friends. We are acquaintances, and they were offering me something if I did something. Great. So I created a contract, and it was very much, if I perform, here's the duties that are requested. If I perform those duties, then I get this, and here's what you're asking for. So, I do my part if you do yours. If you fail, I'm out. I even had a clause in there that was like, if this doesn't happen, cut bait, I'm done. It's about protection, performance, and what you get. But let me be clear, a covenant, it says, I'm in this with you, not because it's easy, but because I love you, because God joined us together, and I'm choosing you even when it's hard. We can go through and look in the Old Testament how God created covenants. He had a covenant relationship with Moses and with Abraham. It was not contractual. It was, I'm walking through this with you. Your marriage isn't a business deal. It's a holy commitment. And sex within a covenant isn't about meeting quotas. It's about creating intimacy. If you're saying yes out of pressure or saying no out of bitterness, it might be time to examine whether you've slipped into a contract mindset or are you in a covenant relationship. So I hate to go there, but actually I love to go there. Up to this point, you're like, okay, I got that. But this is the second part of this. If you read the title of this episode, the answer is not always yes, but my question is, why are you saying no? Let's flip the script, because while you're allowed to say no, and I'll say it again, you're allowed to say no. The question is, why? Here's your heart check. Are you physically exhausted? Okay. Are you emotionally disconnected? Is there unresolved bitterness or hurt? Have you stopped seeing sex as a gift and started seeing it as a chore? Are you avoiding intimacy because it's easier than being vulnerable? Literally every single one of these things we cover in Naked and Unashamed. Absolutely every single one of them. There's a reason why we cover them, is because I know so many of those things firsthand. And that is what I want to break free from. Psalm 139 verses 23 through 24. I love Psalm 139. If you're not familiar with Psalm 139, go read it. It's beautiful. But it ends with this: search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you, and lead me along the path of everlasting life. Don't know what to pray? Pray this. Pray the scriptures. Take this to the Lord and say, Lord, search me, know my heart. Test me, Know my anxious thoughts. Those things that I'm worrying about, know them. Point out anything in me that offends you and lead me along the path of everlasting life. Here's the thing, friend. When you ask the Lord to point out anything in you that offends him, wait. You can't just say, Father, show me the things that are offending you and keep going a million miles a minute. Take a minute. Pause. If you have to, pause this right now. Pray it right now and ask the Lord to show you. And if something pops up in your head, maybe even in just like the very back, just this little minute, it's not a coincidence. Take that to him. Ask God to uncover the hidden reasons. Ask him to heal what's underneath the surface nose because they're there. Absolutely. There's something more to it. My kids, they know. In fact, my middle daughter came to me the other day. She's like, hey, so hypothetically, if I came home with another tattoo, what would you say? Here's my thing. I don't really have an issue with tattoos. My question to them is, and they know it, I'll say, what's my question? Why? Why are you doing it? What is your why behind it? Now, here's the thing. I don't have to agree with their why, but they need to be resolute in it. What are you doing? Why are you saying no? You don't necessarily always need to have 5 points to it, but you need to be pure before the Lord. Like, are you making excuses or is this a legit thing? So when the no is absolutely holy, here's the grace. Here is the absolute grace. Not every no is sinful. Not every no is selfish. Sometimes a no is wise, protective, loving. Your body might be recovering. Your soul might be tired. Your heart might need care before it can open up again. Even Jesus stepped away from the crowds for a bit. You don't have to prove your love. You don't have to prove your love by pushing past your limits. I'm going to say that again, friend. Think about these things. Maybe you're recovering from pregnancy, from giving birth. Maybe you've had surgery. Maybe your soul is tired. Maybe your heart might need care before it can open up again. Maybe there's been some hard things in your marriage. Maybe there's some hard things. Maybe you've had the loss of a loved one. Maybe you just need some care right now. And while I would say sometimes having sex and creating that bond with your husband is a good thing, maybe that's just not it right now. Maybe you need to step away from it, but it's not forever. You don't have to prove your love by, I'll just get over it. This will be fine. This will be great. I really want you to lean into asking the Lord to search you. Sometimes the no is a signal. It's the blinking light on your dashboard saying, hey, something deeper is going on here. It's that check engine light. Maybe it's time for a conversation. Maybe it's time for counseling. There's nothing wrong with biblical counseling. In fact, I wholeheartedly believe that most, if not all people, would benefit from a 6 or 8 week session of biblical counseling. It's so good, provided you have a good biblical counselor. Maybe it's time for connection outside the bedroom before anything meaningful can happen. Hello, friend, I have a free download called 13 Types of Intimacy. Sex and intimacy are not the same thing. Maybe you need to review that. Friend, sex is never just physical. And if your heart is crying out for more than just a quick yes, no, listen to it. God might be inviting you into something deeper. So let's talk about this thing. So you're like clicking along with me. You're like, okay, I see this. Now we're going to get to the communicating part, which I know is hard, which is how this podcast was born out of like this, wait, how do we communicate these things? Because let's be real, how you say no matters. Absolutely. You don't need to shut him down with silence or sarcasm. Yes, I know. You do that. We all do that every so often. You're like, oh, pretend I'm asleep. Breathe really heavy or be sarcastic about it. You can say things like, hey, babe, I love you, but tonight I need some rest. Like my body is wiped out. Or, hey, hun, I'm feeling disconnected. Do you think we can talk first? Or I want to be close. But right now, I really need your understanding more than I need your touch. Healthy no doesn't reject. It invites intimacy in another form. Maybe it's just a hug. Maybe that's what you need. That's what I mean by intimacy. There's other types of intimacy. Maybe you need that hug. Maybe it's like, hey, baby, you know what? I really love you and I really desire you, but I am just struggling in some areas. Do you think you could just pray for me? And maybe at the end of that, you've had a change of heart and you're like, okay, yeah, actually, yeah, maybe not, but communicate that. So here's your challenge this week. Ask yourself why. When I was in business years ago, we would do like the 5 whys, so you'd ask yourself, why am I saying no? Okay. So you come up with an answer. Okay. So why am I saying that? Okay. Now you keep going. And usually by the time you get to the 5th no, you're kind of at the heart of it all. You see things a little bit differently. Get out a piece of paper, write it down. I would also recommend destroying that piece of paper afterwards. It's really meant to be an exercise for you to get to the heart of it. You don't want to leave it laying around in the, you wouldn't want to hurt your husband with that. So ask yourself, why have you been saying no? What is your heart trying to tell you? Where do you need healing, reconnection, or rest? And if this stirred something in you, if you're feeling the nudge to deal with what's underneath the surface, then I really want to invite you to take the next step with me. Go grab your copy of Naked and Unashamed, the 31-day journey to reclaim the pleasure and redeem the design. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can go to bit.ly/31-day journey. This isn't just another devotional. In fact, I started calling it a devotional, and a friend and mentor of mine was like, it's not really a devotional. It's really an ebook. It's a journey. It's a bold, Bible-based deep dive into the conversations most women are not having. Your pleasure, your body, the orgasm gap, initiation without shame, sex after babies. That's one question that I've had, not even just after babies, but like we've been trying. And, when you're trying to get pregnant, it kind of becomes a chore, right? What about the healing wounds you never told anyone about? Because friend, you're not broken. You're not alone. You do not have to stay stuck in cycles of guilt, shame, and disconnect. Satan absolutely wants you to stay there. He wants you to live in your shame. If you are feeling shame, that is not from the Lord at all. He does not look at you and see Susan and, you are the girl who did fill in the blank. He sees you as a redeemed. If you have accepted Jesus Christ into your heart and he is the Lord of your heart, then he sees you as the daughter who is covered by the blood of his son. Let's rip off the lies, reclaim the truth, walk in freedom. So go get naked and unashamed. And if you haven't yet, could you leave a review for the podcast? Share this episode with a friend. These are the conversations we need to have together. And if you're not in the Facebook community, go join us. Why are you not over there? I think it's facebook.com/rip it off community. Maybe the link is in the show notes. That's like your safe space. Go join the collective. If you're like, okay, that still seems a little too open, or I'm not on Facebook, go to the collective. It is a private Voxer group where we get to have all kinds of conversations. And so until next time, say no when you need to, say yes when your heart's in it, and invite Jesus into every part of your intimacy. Remember, sex and intimacy are absolutely not the same thing. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, go click the link in the show notes for the free download of 13 types of intimacy. You're loved, you're seen, and you're not alone. I'll see you next time.